This isn't a podcast on labeling product marketing. This is a podcast for product marketing managers who feel misunderstood internally.
Because building slide decks and writing copy is not all that we do.
So are today's product marketers actually marketers? Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of We're Not Marketers. We have a special guest with us here today. We got Peep Laja, CEO of Winter. If you all are familiar with him, you may have seen him pop up on your LinkedIn feed, or he may have answered a question on Intercom related to CS support. He's going to give us a deep dive here around B2B messaging testing, getting to know your audience more. And he's just here to kick it with the three misfits here. So to start it off, my name is Zach Roberts here, Sales Waterboy. I'll pass it over here to Gab.
Gab Bugeaud, Sales Deck Intern. I just do Sales Deck until I die.
And I'm Eric Holland, the one and only Franken marketer. Zach, pass it back to you for a quick intro of our special guest.
Perfect. So Pep, we rolled out the red carpet for you here, but we know we may not be doing you justice here. What else would you like to add to your intro here?
I think you pretty much covered it. I'm an entrepreneur. So I have 3 companies. I've been an entrepreneur since 2007, almost 20 years now.
Okay. Awesome. Congrats.
And like we said before the conversation, happy 3-year for Winter. I know you started back in January 2021. We're going to talk more about that. But as Pep, this show is called We're Not Marketers. And every guest that walks this virtual stage, we always got one question for them, specific to within B2B product marketing. I'm going to pass it off here to Gab here, and he's going to take it away.
Thank you, Zach. Pep, are product marketers actually marketers? Why or why not?
Yes, they are. Because the point of product marketing, one of the key points, is to make people want whatever you're selling. So that's marketing.
That's the show, folks.
All right, there's the answer. No one needs to listen any farther. But that's good. I was saying, to give you our perspective, since this is the first time all of us meeting you, and likewise you meeting us, we've taken the opinion that marketing is typically now all about leads, right? There's where a lot of the KPIs end up falling. And the 3 product marketing misfits on this call believe that primarily it should be tied to revenue in the product marketing side of things. We feel like that is why we've named ourselves We're Not Marketers, and we believe that delineation is a lot of the reasons why there's a lot of that disconnect that you see in a lot of startups nowadays. Give you some context there, and if you have any thoughts on that, we'd love to hear it, but I think you made it pretty clear where you stand.
Sure. I think even marketing is not even measuring leads anymore, because MQLs is like so 2012. Everything that matters is just pipeline and converted dollars. My opinion that is maybe not very mainstream is that product marketing should own the website and thus should own the conversion rate. So if you look at any study done on how companies buy B2B products, and I'm in B2B space, and I think the recent buyer journey report by Gartner, like what is the number one thing that influenced you when doing vendor selection? It's website. Website is number one. And who owns the website? It varies. It should be owned by product marketing in a big company. In a small company, it's the CEO, because the CEO is the head of product marketing at a small company. So I think product marketing has to be responsible for revenue, for pipeline, for all those things.
I want to pick into this a little bit. So I think you lined out who you believe should be responsible. I know you work with a lot of different companies and do a lot of different things. I tend to find, and I've only been in this for a few years, but even when I was working at a Fortune 1000 manufacturing company, it seemed the website to be very much a committee type of situation, and everyone wants to get their hand in the pot. So what are your thoughts on that approach? And if, how you can potentially move it away from that into a product marketing or CEO led space for the website?
Yeah, committee, absolutely. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and the bigger and more complex the organization, the more political it is. So totally get it. Probably unavoidable also to an extent. And a small company, it's nice. You have dictatorship. The CEO says how it is, and that's how it is. as if you're Salesforce. There's more democracy now, which is sad for me. But I'm still running my small businesses where dictatorship prevails, and it's the good times. But even if there are committees and all that stuff, somebody's got to be responsible. Who's going to get fired if the results are shit, or who's going to get promoted if we're killing it? Somebody, like a lot of the website discussions should really also come down to what's making money. I think a lot of arguing over what goes on the website, especially the homepage. Sales wants to say this and marketing wants to say that, and CEO believes that we should say that. A lot of these arguments happen because obviously there's lack of consensus, because we don't know what works. If there would be, in a dream world, there's data on what actually works and what contributes to us making more money and converting more customers and whatnot. And then most everybody is a rational actor. If we know what works, that goes on the website. There's no arguments anymore. It's solved. What was it? The CEO of Netscape who said, "If we have data, let's look at the data. If all we have is opinions, we'll go with mine," said the CEO. That's still the case. Everybody wants to make more money, and if we have data on what makes money, so essentially, the solution to lack of consensus is data. Now, messaging is the last thing in the whole internet that is not being measured. Everything we can measure, every ad click, every scroll on the website. We know how much they click this button versus that button. But the words on the website, are they working? And the information hierarchy. What is the order of the content blocks? Are we measuring that? And all of this is measurable. It's just that most companies today are still not measuring it. Also, 10 years ago, usability studies were like rare. Very few companies did user tests on their website. Today, most companies do this. So I think the same goes for message testing and other stuff, where right now it's like the Wild West days. If you invite me back in 2034, of course we do message testing. Of course we know what works. Or maybe I'm just naive.
Oh, so Pip, a follow-up question to that. You said that CEOs are like product marketers.
Mm-hmm.
Many CEOs, especially at this early startup phase, may not consider themselves as product marketers. They're saying, hey, I'm the first salesperson. I'm curious to get your take on this, is that if CEOs are calling themselves like the first salesperson, they're on every sales call talking to customers. And like you said here earlier, like their say goes, what prompts your organization to exist? Because if I'm a CEO, I'm a salesperson, I'm talking to customers, I'm getting the insights, I know what their POV is, I'm qualified to speak to that. Why would I hire a Winter to tell me what I already know?
The Winter does not tell you what to say. Winter will only tell you how it's working. Or it's not a binary 1 or 0. It's what about your pitch, your narrative, whatever, is working and clicking, and what remains unclear, what creates confusion, what actually hurts the sales process. So it's a different thing. We're not telling you, say this. The CEO in a small business is also the founder. In a large organization, it might change. Typically still the founder, even like Mark Zuckerberg is still there and all that stuff. So a founder starts the business because they have some sort of an insight to the market. They've probably worked in the same space for years and years before. They've talked to a lot of people before they launched the business. If they probably ran a lean startup and they knew they had to interview like 40 people. They come in with the most knowledge about the customer and the market and the opportunity. And if the company is making enough money that they can hire people, there's money for that. Means some shit's working. So he's right. It's working. That's the problem we're solving. Somebody's paying for it. So already that's why the CEO is the product marketer. You say sales, but marketing is sales at scale. So sales is just one-on-one, and marketing is now we're in one-to-many. Same idea. And the CEO is the CMO, and the CEO is also the chief product officer for a long ass while. And I mean, if you follow Jason Lemkin, who's talking about big enterprise level, it's still the case. If you have 1,000 employees, the CEO is still the CMO and CPO, and everybody else better get in line.
Well, then I'm curious, because you tailed on this, and I've actually experienced this where I have brought Winter to the forefront. I would like this data instead of me walking around with a blindfold and hoping I pinned the tail on the donkey. I am so curious as why that is such a tough thing. When you talk about like you said, any other part of the journey, you're like, where's the data behind it? Where's the data behind it? But it seems to me like messaging does not get that same type of, I don't know, type of consideration when they think about data back decisions. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on why, and definitely how a lad like me can better position this.
Let's say that this is a sales call and I'm pitching you my product, but your cams are off and your mics are on mute. And here I am delivering my pitch. All I can see is whether you later sign my order form and buy my thing or not. That would be insanity. Nobody would do sales calls like this. It's a conversation. I'm gauging whether you're bored, and I'm asking you a question. I'm trying to engage you. That's normal. But messaging on a website is that, like, cameras are off and they're on mute and you're just screaming something. And somehow we think that's normal. As soon as I bring this analogy to whoever, usually during a sales call when I'm pitching message testing, they're like, oh, obviously. Or another example is you're buying all these LinkedIn ads and Google ads and so on. Imagine those tool platforms would not tell you how many clicks, how many impressions, cost per click, cost per action, all that. You had no data. You just how much you spend. It would be insanity. Nobody would do that. Yet somehow it's okay that website, which is number one asset in the buyer journey, number one, we're not measuring it. We're thinking, oh, maybe it's the LinkedIn. No, it's not the fucking LinkedIn ads. Everything contributes. Obviously, it's a complex system. And so the argument of why we need to measure it is actually everybody gets it. I think why it's not thought about is two reasons. One, there was just no way to do message testing up until recently. Nobody was even talking about it on the internet until I came around. In advertising, there's a concept called copy testing that's been around since the 60s. There are all these labs, like before you launch your Super Bowl ads, the commercials. These are tested in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, and they had 35 versions of the same ad. And this was all tested before they put it out there. In advertising world, this is an old concept. So I'm just building on that stuff. So there's one, it's a new idea in messaging is a new idea. And second is most everybody is literate. We can write words. I can put a sentence together. I did it many times today already, and probably you as well. And so hence it seems easy. Any idiot can say shit. So what's so special about it?
I think you put it in a really beautiful way that, if we're on a sales calls and you don't see me and I cannot talk, how can you ultimately understand that I'm seeing value or not? It's bringing me to a question. You just reached out 3 years at Winter. I'm wondering, how are you seeing the understanding of people around message testing? Are you seeing that the market start to understand how crucial it is in order to validate that the message resonate with their target market? Can you talk to us a little bit? How are you seeing this evolve over the course of the last 3 years?
It is definitely getting a lot of traction. So if you think about message testing as a category, Winter is in that category, a tool in that category. But there are all these other, let's call it vendors or players in the market. There are authors like April Dunford and her books, like she's talking about it. And then there's Dave Gerhardt is tweeting about it. So it's like there's something in the water, the zeitgeist. So I'm not just the only sole guy in the desert yelling, oh, test your messaging. There's a lot of voices. And also there's increasing demand because you can see people who used to call themselves copywriters and now they're messaging experts, like they're repositioning themselves. And so overall, it's growing. Obviously, Winter is a very small company. We're a 3-year-old startup. We've been doubling and tripling here over the last years, but we're still tiny. Think about HubSpot, which is, what's their revenue? Like billions, right? They have 5% of the CRM market. 5%. And that's HubSpot. Everybody knows HubSpot. So Winter and message testing, in the market and buyers, and it's like 0.0001% of the people who need it are using Winter for message testing. That's not to say that you have to use Winter necessarily, because you can do it manually. And in B2C, there are other tools out there where you can do this. In consumer research and consumer businesses are at least 10 years ahead of B2B. Always. Yeah.
So I'm 10 years ahead of everybody then in B2B. Is that what we're hearing?
No.
That's what I'm hearing.
I'll take it.
That's what I believe, because I do agree that to go without it, like, again, any piece of content that we put out, right, we expect to know how that's performing. And I'm excited for the day, like you said, when everyone's like, yeah, we have to know how our messaging is performing and get that data and be able to say, heck yeah, let's move forward with this instead of the king of the hill mentality.
Yeah, I mean, if I play on your content marketing example here, so old school, 10 years ago, we were writing blog posts. We published a blog post, spent weeks writing it, and then we're like, let's see like how it will do. And mainly we were measuring SEO rankings and maybe traffic. Now the content first goes on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we can see immediate in the same day whether it was a dud or a winner. And then if it's a winner, people like it, it resonates with people. Now we can turn it into a blog post because we know they'll like it, and we can stitch. So it's a similar idea in content marketing. Social media is the way to quickly test if it has legs, and the cost of failure is almost non-existent. If it goes nowhere, nobody saw it, so it's fine. So there's no damage.
Follow-up question for you here, Pip, is that I'm a solo product marketer. I'm working on a website. How I do I want to do the messaging testing.
Mm-hmm.
What should I be doing? What does that look like? Am I making sure all the I's are dotted? Am I making sure the T's are crossed? Am I going off of subjective feeling of I don't like this or I don't like that? Like when you say objective measures, like what should like a product marketer be looking at when they want to do their own messaging testing when they contact you guys?
Yeah, so the way I think about it is that there's cause and effect. The effect is they buy your thing. They sign up, they schedule a demo, like whatever the action is. So that's the effect. But what caused people to sign up? So what kind of messaging creates the effect? And so if we work on the cause, we get more effect. And so when I was distilling down, okay, like which components of messaging predict the effect of signing up, scheduling a demo, it basically comes down to 4 things. And out of those, one is the most important thing. So the most important thing of all is value. And the way I define value is like, it answers the question, how badly do I want it? Like I see an offer, they describe a product, and I'm like, holy shit, sign me up. And that's the reaction you want. Or, which is the most common reaction to any B2B product, yet another email marketing tool. I already have one, man. So value is number one. And of course, now it gets more complicated because the way you describe value, it needs to be done in a certain way. So the other factors are clarity. Are you using language I understand and I enjoy reading? Short sentences, 8th grade reading level, no buzzwords. You spell it out, what it actually is and all that stuff. So clarity, very important. Then relevance. Do I understand that it's for me? And do I understand it solves my problems or helps me achieve the outcomes that I'm already trying to achieve? So relevance. And then finally, it's the differentiated value. Because let's say in the case of email marketing, I already have one. Like, why would I even pay attention? So just, was it yesterday or today when Basecamp launched their new campfire, right? It's the pay once. And on their website, they say, this replaces Teams and Slack. So immediately they position themselves like, what does it replace? I know. And then they go all into what's the differentiated value? Basically, it's 99.9% cheaper than Slack, and you only pay once. And you get it, and very quickly you get it. And then whether you care about that value or not, then of course depends on the person that's positioning. Find who cares a lot about your differentiated value, right? And so if you make your messaging more clear, more relevant, pimp up the value, and make it clear how you're differentiated value, you're going to get more sales and more signups. And then how do I know subjectively, is this clear enough? Some of it can be algorithmic, like clarity. For instance, you guys know Hemingway app. So Hemingway can tell you what readability. What's the readability level? Like this is like 12th grade or 8th grade, and you want to be 8th grade or lower. And also like long sentences, short sentences. It will tell you like which sentences are hard to read. So you can optimize that objectively, make it easy to read short sentences, all that stuff. But the rest is all about perceptions. And the perceptions, you as a writer, if you're writing the copy, you cannot judge, at least not well, because we love our darlings and all that stuff. And so then you need to put it in front of the very people that you're actually trying to influence, sell to, and get their take. And their take is not objective truth, it's a perception. Perception is reality to the perceiver. And so now you're measuring perceptions. Do you perceive it as different? Do you perceive it as clear? Do you perceive it as relevant? And like the value is also like from 0 to 10, how much do you want it?
But you said something really interesting because it's perception, it's subjective. And when you get a high volume of this, is when you can find patterns, it's when you can understand, are we in the right track? And usually I think one of the best use case of winter is when you're already talking to customers, when you already have that data point and like that informal approach with people that are buying your product, that are interested with your product, then you already have that source of information and you know the direction you can take to validate it. A little bit like the question that Zach asked earlier of, it won't tell you this is what you should do, but it will help you have a lot more clarity than doing it manually or having to send out thousands of emails where it's not even on the same ground.
Right, exactly. Because what you will learn with message testing is, like, for instance, you will learn which parts are perceived as unclear. They don't get it. And then they will usually point out, like, what do they not get? After reading, they read the whole thing, and they still have this question and that question and the other thing, and they're wondering about this and this. You will find out where you're missing the mark. And then the message testing won't tell you what to say instead. You have to use your brain, but it will tell you what's not working. So it's an iterative process like anything else.
Pep, I got a question for you. Earlier today, we were checking out the website. Like you said, the website, this is the chief spot where you're going to influence the customer. A few times you mentioned B2B messaging testing. And on the website, it says point solution. But at the top, you have platform. A lot of many CEOs, executive leaders, especially in B2B, want to sell a platform. They say, sell the platform, that's the value. So I'm curious from your point of view, if I'm an enterprise leader, where do I start my messaging from? Do I sell the platform or do I sell the point solution? And if I do sell the point solution, how do I cascade up to getting people to buy a platform?
And so the question is about the website or the sales process, sales conversation?
Like the sales conversation. To give you some context, is that a lot of times when someone like teams are saying like, hey, sell the platform. And from most prospects are like, I don't even know what the platform does, or I don't want to buy the whole platform. I just want to get this X piece. Don't oversell me. I just need X. I don't need the whole alphabet.
So my take is that usually the prospect comes in with a particular problem, so that they want to solve, or a particular outcome they want to achieve. So that's where you want to start. So are we talking about the homepage or a sales conversation? Because if it's sales conversation, it's much easier because you can very much tailor it on the fly. Yes, we can do this, but by the way, we also can do these other things for you. And hopefully the platform is modular where I can just sell you this one thing and hope to expand over time. On a website, your homepage does need to paint the full picture, so it's more complicated. And in that case, the homepage should serve as the goal of the homepage is to get them off the homepage, down the funnel. So there's some sort of a self-selection happening. You guide them towards, I want this, or I am this, or this is my problem. There's some sort of a segmentation, self-segmentation happening. For a lengthier response, April Dunford's new book, Sales Pitch, I think there's a whole chapter on what to do with a multi-product thing. Yeah.
Now, I want to dig into something with you, Pip. So you mentioned earlier you started this about 3 years ago and you were the old man in the desert screaming. And I've personally benefited from the B2B messaging course, which you co-did with Olivine. So any of our listeners out there, shameless plug. If you have not taken that course, it's free. go check it out. I want to know, what are some of the other things that you've been doing to help elevate that conversation and make sure it is a topic that hopefully in a few years from now, guys like us and gals like our listeners can essentially make this a no-brainer conversation instead of a huge five slide justification to leadership on going and actually investing in your messaging.
You want to be inside echo chambers where you say something and it bounces off the walls and then other people start saying it, which is, of course, social media. So LinkedIn, which, of course, is an echo chamber and not everybody's on it, but the loudest people are on it. And usually the loudest people get their way. And so I've really invested in organic LinkedIn, and I try to post daily. And if you do that over years, many years, it starts having an effect. Like in the Winter's case, we're measuring the self-reported attribution. How do you hear about us when you sign up? 50% of Winter signups come through my personal account, organic.
Wow.
So it just fucking works. And if you can have more people from your company be visible, loud, and not just say there's a good way to do social and bad way. You need to have something interesting to say also consistently, which is not easy, but that's the cheapest way to do it. And of course, if you have money, you can amplify thought leadership ads on LinkedIn, working great for me. And then all kinds of events. I'm throwing my own conferences, plus virtual events are super easy and cheap to do, and we've been doing them since we started, virtual conferences.
I haven't heard about the virtuals, but I need to check that out. I've definitely heard of your spring event coming up here in April. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, April 9th or 10th.
All right. So Austin, you got any inside stuff of what someone could expect? And let me preface with this question. Are tickets still available as of February 2nd?
Yeah, tickets are still available. I've been actively presenting at conferences for more than a decade. And I've been also throwing conferences of my own since 2009. So through this, I have learned what actually makes an event good. And it's not the food, and it's not the speakers. And now in retrospect, I look at photos of like conferences I was at in 2014, where it's this theater style. There's like a theater and there's a speaker on the stage and we're all sitting in chairs all day long, watching one keynote after another. It seems like ridiculous. Like you don't need to travel for content. All of that shit's going to be on YouTube later. And really what makes event fun, memorable, worth talking to, inspirational is the fun I had, like personal emotion. Oh, this was fun. I had fun. And conversations with other people. Like I met this guy and then we talked about this thing. And then I learned that this company is killing it and they're doing this tactic. And I go and evangelize to my team. Oh, holy shit, what I found. And so with Spryng is like, how can I make that part the main thing? There are keynotes and they're only 20 minutes and there's 2 in a row. And the only reason I have keynotes is because I don't think you can sell tickets to a conference without keynotes. Maybe one day I'll figure out how to do that. There's just, let's hang out for 3 days, $1,000. I don't know. I got to work on my value prop there. But basically, it's organized discussion groups. So every attendee who comes, I'm going to segment them by company size and job title. So all product marketers who work at a B2B SaaS company and have 50 to 200 employees, to sit at the same table because they have the similar problems. And I don't just segment them by company size and type and job title, but also by common problems. I'll have them all fill out a survey before coming. I know who has which problems, and then I'll blackmail them later. Just kidding. And so people with the same problem are sitting at the same table, people with the same goal. And so I curate this. And then there's beer in hand and all you can drink and eat and social lubricant. It's super fun.
Who says the food and beer is not important, right? Or is that looped into the fun category? Is that what you looped that into that side of the budget?
Well, food and drink are not why somebody ever chooses an event, but to make it go smoothly, it's there. And if there's absence of those things, people are unhappy.
Gonna do some barbecue down there?
Not me personally, but we'll serve some.
All right, so Pip, again, go over the rules with you. It's pretty simple. We're gonna force you into a phone booth, and you are gonna have to pick one of 2 options to essentially use for your own messaging and if you were to advise others to use. So we call it the messaging torture chamber for a reason. They are intended to make you either throw up or feel like internally combusting. So the only rule is you can't plead the fifth and defer. All right.
All right.
So the first one, supercharged or revolutionary?
Oof, good ones. I'm gonna go with revolutionary here because then at least some people might have an idea what I'm trying to communicate. Supercharge is like too vague. Would have no idea what that is. Maybe for cars it might work.
Electric
Like I
shock.
haven't-
Yeah.
yeah, but if it's like accounting software, revolutionary might be a better word.
Okay, cool. Next one, best in class versus cutting edge.
Ooh. Again, I'm going to go with best in class because I think the idea that it's trying to convey is more clear versus the other one.
Okay. How about let's go with leverage? No, I don't like this one. We're going to go with a different one. Innovative versus groundbreaking.
Innovative, same logic here. Groundbreaking, like it was like digging the earth. Is like the new Elon Musk project, digging tunnels.
All right. Agile versus lean.
Yeah. Lean is overused because I want to lose some weight and be real lean. Or is it like the lean manufacturing Toyota or lean startup? So maybe less, it's like more vague. But what was that one? Agile?
Yeah, or lean. Yeah, agile or lean.
Yeah, I'd go with agile research. It's actually a thing.
All right. This one is super painful for me personally. So empower versus enable.
But enable sounds like actually a normal word. Empower is like more grandiose. That's like what's the cool working space? WeWorks, human consciousness type of thing. But enable, we enable you to do things. So sales enablement, pretty normal. They're trying to actively push buyer enablement. We'll see if that works out. Enable. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. I'm still struggling to actually find where I'm talking in one of my friends and use the word enable. I'm gonna try to figure that one out.
Bar and then you enable bad behavior.
I guess you're right. I have been self-identified as an enabler before and not in a work environment. Next, we'll do a few more of these and we'll get to wrapping up. So increase ROI or maximize profits.
Oof. Dang. That's hard. These are both equally bad. I'm going to go with the profits. And just because I have learned that anytime you use an abbreviation, there's a bunch of people who have, what the fuck does that mean? So ROI, there will be like 30% of the CROs who are like, I don't know what this means. But profits, everybody gets profits.
All right. Boost sales or enhance revenue?
Say again?
Boost sales or enhance revenue?
I think boost sales is more conversational. The enhance, and I would not use that in a conversation.
All right. And we'll go with the last one here. Productivity versus streamlined processes.
I hate streamlined, so it's gotta be productivity.
You're my new favorite guy. I hate that word so much.
Streamlined. I mean, I've seen it so many times. Every time, I'm still not sure what they mean. Is it easy? I don't know.
What about thoughts on seamless before we go?
Seamless, yeah. I guess that's also easy, right? I mean, it's equally bad because it's you're not sure. Like you've seen the word 1,000 times, you feel like you must know what it means, but you're not sure.
I'd believe firmly, unless you're selling pants, there's no place for seamless. All right. So thank you we'll let you out of the torture chamber now. We really appreciate you stepping in there. We know how painful it is.
Came out unscathed.
Yeah, you were a great sport about it. So yeah, Pip, we spent some time together. Wanted to wrap it up. Again, for anyone who hasn't taken the B2B messaging course, it's free. There's no reason to go get this justified from your organization. Take it. It is absolutely awesome. And quite frankly, it made me a better PMM within about, 4 days and about 2 hours on each of those days. So please take it. If you're interested and got a little bit of a budget and want to go to you said Austin, right? Right, the Austin area in April. Get tickets to Spryng. I'm jealous.
April 9th and 10th.
I've got a little baby boy on the way, and I don't think my better half is going to let me out of the jail cell that early. So please take advantage of the leftover tickets and get there. There's some great thought leaders that are already going, and it sounds like there's going to be some good food and beer as well.
Well, you're not going there for the food or beer. You're going for the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Right. Definitely some good convo, and I think about 5 or 8 of our guests this season are going. So make sure those tickets get sold out. And Pip, let our audience know, where can they find you? What other cool things maybe do you have cooking up in the kitchen that you're welcome to share? And any other promotional things you want our guests to know?
And just give me a follow on LinkedIn. I'm there every day. And if I have anything to share, you'll find out on LinkedIn.
And I can vouch that he has great takes. So cool. Thank you, Pip, for coming along. And thank you for joining us on another episode of We're Not Marketers.
Good chatting, Pip.
Thank you very much. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to We're Not Marketers. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, review our podcast, and share this episode with other PMMs. Thanks again, and see you soon.